everyone, my name's Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and this is the final installment of the 12 Friends, 12 Books experiment. I'm going to be doing 2 mini reviews of The Wicker King and Liane of the Distant Sea. These were my last 2 books for this experiment project. I finished it really early for reference. Now is September, so I finished Liane of the Distant Sea in September, so maybe a few days ago. And so I wanted to film this while I was still fresh. I'm really proud of myself that I finished so quickly. I feel also kind of like, well, what am I going to do for the rest of the year, essentially? But I'm very excited because I'm done and like the biggest relief is off my shoulders. And I'm really excited to do this again next year. I want to do a little bit of a tweak where I do what book would 12 of my favorite authors recommend for me to read. I already have a few picks for that one of other authors that I've talked to in the past have recommended books, and I have some authors that I want to ask. So fingers crossed that actually happens, because that would be so fabulous. And yeah, let's just get into it. So the first one is my review of The Wicker King. This one I finished in like a few days. It was just so obsessive. So if you have the physical copy of The Wicker King, you know that the pages get darker as it goes along. And at first I wasn't sure what that would mean, but that was such a stylistically brilliant choice because it really is this physical embodiment of how like focused we get and how much like the darkness kind of surrounds us. So basically The Wicker King has a lot to do about codependency and friendship and love, but it also has to do with social systems and support systems that fail us. So what happens when teens are forced to be these support systems and for their friends or for other people that they know, even for themselves, and all of the ways that that kind of filters down to us psychologically and kind of what falls through the cracks. So that was kind of thematically what that book was about, but what I loved so much about this book is like how deep we got into the characters of The Wicker King and this unreliability and not sure what's real and not sure what's kind of our own perceptions and what's not real, essentially. And it just was so emotional and, as I said, so gripping and compelling. I definitely recommend reading it. I read The Weight of Our Stars and Darling before I read The Wicker King, and these are all by Kate Ankrum. I don't know which one I love more, actually. I feel like each one of us gives me a different vibe. So like The Weight of Our Stars was just gorgeously lyrical. Darling was just like so messed up in the best way. And The Wicker King is just so gripping and compulsively readable. I just felt like I could not stop reading it. I wanted to keep reading it, and I finished it days early because basically I just couldn't stop reading it. The chapters are really short and fast-paced, and it's interesting because even though this book is so much about August and Jack's relationship and their friendship and all of these different feelings, we know Jack so well through August's perspective and through how August sees Jack. So even though that we don't see Jack's POV, it was one of those things where like the side characters or the characters that inhabit August's world are so detailed that like everyone just feels so multi-dimensional. So the character work in The Wicker King is just so fabulous, and the plot is just like compulsively readable, as I said, and the fast-paced short chapters just make it so that the time flies while reading this. I cannot recommend this one enough. And the next one is Liane of the Distant Sea. This wasn't my only middle grade, but this is probably the one that's been on my ARC TBR for so long. I got an ARC of this like ages ago. And Liane of the Distant Sea was just a book, I don't even know how to describe it. It was a book that was emotional, for sure, because Liane is such a endearing character. Like, she makes mistakes, but she also, at the heart of her, who she is so well-intentioned and so kind-hearted and like wants so badly to fix her mistakes and fix the community and her family, even though the community and the family like have their own issues of their own and are like not worthy necessarily of Liane's beautiful character. So there is one aspect of that where I really love Liane. And then another one was just all about the importance of stories and the importance of like stories coming to life and the fantasy aspects of Liane of the Distant Sea and all of that coming to life and like the power of stories and the power of warnings and education in stories and like miseducation in stories, and rewriting stories, like all of that thematically was so beautifully done. And then what I also didn't expect was that even though Liane goes on her journey and her adventures, and that was super great to read, but then there's also this other lens looking at the community kind of while Liane is gone. And so we look at the community through her best friend, or not through her best friend, but with her best friend character and another character in the town. And those were actually some beautiful scenes, because in these scenes, it talks a lot about how do you make the right choice, how do you fix your mistakes, and how do you continue making the right choice, and how hard it is to speak up. So for example, I felt like Liane's character talks a lot about the difficulty of standing out and being different, whereas the other characters are really grappling when Liane is gone about speaking out about what's happening and when you think the decision is wrong. And this like really rigid cultural community kind of sanctioned / enforced vibe of punishment and not being able to speak and like all of these different things and being afraid to speak and all of those things. And what I really loved is that that community is kind of not lost while Liane is gone from it. We still are seeing what's happening in the community and these characters that we kind of know, but we get to know a lot better. So Liane of the Distant Sea was just one of those books, yeah, that just, it's very difficult to explain because of all the different ways that I love it. As I said, like with Liane's character and the themes and then the village kind of storyline, which was so unexpected. I kind of thought we would just go with Liane and go wherever Liane goes, and we do. So it's basically almost like a chapter stream of Liane and the chapter stream of the stories that are exposed and that are told, and then a chapter stream of the village and what's happening there. So on all of those 3 levels, it was just so fabulous. I'm just so happy that this is the last one of the experiment, and that this is the kind of one of that I've done. So I was kind of thinking, would it be fun if I did like a rating from my favorite to least favorite of these 12 books? I don't know. If you're interested in that, please let me know down below, because it could be fun, could be spicy, could be fun. I'm really intrigued to see if anyone cares about that. But overall, I've had such a fun experience with this 12 Friends, 12 Books project. I'm so grateful to May for like giving me the seed kernel idea. I saw it on May's page first, and then I was like, that is a fantastic idea. I will link May's stuff below as well. And yeah, I just have had such a fun time, and the Wicker King and Liane of the Distant Sea were just perfect to end this project with. They've probably been on my TBR for the longest of all of the 12 books, and so yeah, it was just such a great note to end on, and in general I feel so great about finishing it and great about these books. And yeah, I would just recommend the books so highly to you. And yeah, that brings me to the end of this. It feels bittersweet to kind of say that, but it's the end. It's gone. That's it. But yeah, let me know if you had recommended me a book, what book you would recommend, and if you have any suggestions for authors that I should reach out to. I have a few. I'm preparing to get rejected by a few. Yeah, but I'm really intrigued and just really excited to kind of do something similar to this in 2022. Okay, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!